Welcome to the Bike Life Podcast by Warmshowers Foundation, where we will be sharing knowledge, experience, tools, and stories of touring cyclists and hosts from around the world. I'm Tara Lee, the woman behind the scenes at Warmshowers Foundation, the leading platform for cyclists looking for hosts and to connect with a passionate international community. Find out more by visiting us at Warmshowers.org. Now, on to the show. Today we are going to discuss the advantages and challenges of cycle touring as a solo woman. And this isn't just for women. This is actually for everyone to listen to and learn about the experiences that today's guest is going to share. Because whether or not you are cycling by yourself or hosting or coming across a female solo cyclist, there are so many tidbits that you can learn today. And I have Sara with me to share her knowledge, her experience, and her wisdom. And she's joining us from southeastern Turkey before she heads north again. So Sara, thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm glad to share my experience with you and the whole community of Warm Showers.
Yes, and I love the idea of discussing, the advantages and also the challenges that you've come up against, because I know for sure, for a fact, that you are not the only person that has, experienced both these advantages and challenges. And it's important for everybody to know whether or not you bump into a solo touring cyclist or you're hosting. This is really good information. So let's go back a step and let's tell everybody a little bit about where you're from and how you started, like what made you desire to go on this tour?
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Sara. I'm from Spain, from a city called Zaragoza, which is between Madrid and Barcelona. And I'm originally from China. Just like doing a quick summary of my background, I studied business administration. I also studied 1 year in the US. I took several gap years, whether to work as a waitress in London or to improve my Chinese in China between junior and senior year. And I worked for 5 years in the technology sector until COVID happened. I continued to work from home. But then several things went on my mind, and I decided that it was time to make a change. And I decided to quit my job in December 2021 with the idea of cycling from Spain toward Asia alone without any time frame and without a destination.
How did your friends and family feel about that decision?
My friends were supportive with me. My family at the beginning, not so much, because they are a little bit conservative, a bit traditional. And with time, they understood it better. And right now they are more supportive. They know that this is continuing. I've been more than 9 months on the road, and so now they are more supportive.
So when you left your job and you made this decision, did you immediately start touring, or was there some time in between? And what made you decide to take this tour from Spain to China? That's like 3 questions in one, so take them as you will.
So I knew that there's no like preparation, a specific preparation for something like this, So I did my first bike trip in 2021 during the COVID, because all the borders were closed. And the way I used to travel before, it was through bikepacking, taking a plane. The further, the better. I traveled to several countries, and the more I traveled, the more I wanted to go to more remote places, like less traveled countries. And during COVID, all the borders were closed, so I decided to change the way I travel. So I did this bike trip from Zaragoza to the north of Spain. It was 13 days, and with the bike, with no preparation, with very basic equipment. I suffered a lot during the first 4 days, but I also learned a lot. And from the fifth day, it was like my body and my mind reset, and I just continued, and it was very, very enjoyable, and I really like this journey. And I also did two other trips that shaped a lot what I'm doing now. One of them was hiking through the Pyrenees for 9 days alone in semi sufficiency, so bringing my own food, my own tent, and so on. And I also learned a lot. It was very hard physically, also emotionally, but at the end, I did it and I enjoyed the process a lot. And the last trip was doing one of the St. James Way, which is called the Camino Primitivo, which is walking alone from one city to another, to a city called Santiago. And it was 9 days walking an average of 35 to 40 kilometers per day with my backpack and by myself, and it was very enjoyable and I learned a lot. So these three travels, these three trips taught me that the important thing of traveling, or it was more about the journey, about the process, the day to day, rather than reaching a destination, which I used to do before, because of course with with a standard job, you don't have the amount of time to travel slow, right?
Yeah, wonderful. Those three trips primed you and taught you, I'm sure, some very big lessons before you embarked on this longer trip. What are some of the key things that you learned that helped you prepare from those three trips for what you're doing now?
Yeah, so the bike trip taught me that it's very difficult to plan, because I did my plan based on nothing, because I didn't have any experience at all. And on the first day, I just threw it away. So my first plan was to do, I don't know, maybe an average of 80 kilometers per day. Even I remember that the second or third day, I planned to do like 126 kilometers. I don't know why did I put that number,
It's like the
but it's
math. You just
impossible.
did math for that part. That
Yeah,
was just math.
maybe,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe. But it told me that it's really it's better not to plan. It's difficult because above all in the first weeks, first months, your body is adapting, and I think it's better not to force it. Just to listen and take the amount of rest you need, and during the day, and if you are going to do 50, then 50 kilometers is fine. If you are doing 80 and you are completely fine, then you do 80, but don't be pressured by a number or by what other bike tourers are doing, because if I compare myself to the average, I think I'm doing much less than them. And also, the best things that happen in the journey are not planned. So a lot of things that happen in this journey were not planned. I didn't know where to sleep. I didn't know who I was going to encounter, and these encounters were like the best thing that happened in the journey. So yeah, it helped me
Yeah.
to understand that we don't have to plan.
Yeah, so that's definitely a big factor, and I'm sure how you're touring now. So you've been on the road. Okay, so let's talk about this current trip. So you left Spain and you're headed to Asia. How long have you been on the road? And I know I said at the beginning that you're in Turkey now, but tell us a little bit about how long you've been on this journey and how has it been getting to Turkey?
So I started the 4th of April of last year, 2022. I left Zaragoza, my home, that morning. And I arrived to southeastern Turkey, to a city called Gaziantep, early January. So I've been cycling for 9 months. And then I took a break, like winter break at home. I flew back home, and then I came back like 2 weeks and a half ago. I resumed from exactly there, from the exact same
I love
place.
it. I love it. So you had a little winter break and refortified, and onward you go. So let's move into a little bit of the topics about what it's been like traveling as a solo female. What were some of the fears that you had when you first started?
Mm, I think when I began this journey, and even now, I didn't have like a fear specifically because I'm a woman, but just because I had like a maybe a normal fear for leaving a stable job, going alone, whether I'm a man or a woman, and not having a lot of things planned because I didn't have a time frame and a destination, and I just had a direction. It's true that at the beginning of the journey and in Western Europe, you have more warm shower hosts. Above all in France, Spain, and France, there were like a lot. So I used this community a lot, and it helped me. It really helped me a lot to where I am now, and I will explain this little by little. But at the beginning, I was a bit afraid of wild camping alone. It's something that it always, even if the place is safe, there is some reason that I couldn't sleep. There was like a one sense that didn't allow me to sleep. So in Spain, in France, there was some times that I did wild camping, and it helped me, and I did it from time to time, combining it with staying with warm shower hosts. But the more I went to the east, I think from Croatia, I think there's no many warm shower hosts there.
Right.
So I started to find other alternatives, and I just started to ask in the villages if they knew somewhere to sleep. And the vast majority of the people, they just offer me to stay at their homes. So that was like a warm shower experience, but they don't necessarily know anything about biking, or it's just like a stranger to a stranger and just building trust little by little. And yeah,
Was that hard to ask for help to a stranger at first?
a lot. It was really, really hard. I was embarrassed, very embarrassed, because I used to be very fearful before this journey to even ask help to my friends or to my family. I was just embarrassed. If I can't do it myself, I will try to do it myself. So asking for help was the last resort. But in Croatia, I forced myself to do it. Even sometimes in Italy or even in France, I stayed at somebody's house, somebody that I didn't know. And I just forced myself, okay, at least try 10 times. If you have 10 no's or 10 families that cannot help you, at least you've tried enough. And every time at the third time or second time or fourth time, they always invited me at their homes. And it was just like that.
What a
The beginning.
beautiful way to learn to ask for help. It is hard to ask for help, and I understand that. And I feel like it has probably also carried over into your other areas of your life, feeling comfortable asking for help. And it's not just asking, it's receiving. It's also just
Mhm.
opening yourself up to say, okay, I need help, and
Yeah.
I'm going to receive what you have to offer, and thank you. And I mean, obviously, you're a gracious human. I mean, we've interacted enough for me to know that. So I'm sure that they felt your gratitude from the very beginning.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I think,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
happy.
And so what other issues or fears did you have to face other than asking for help and wild camping, and was there some aspect of just the total freedom, like the lack of structure, that was maybe unnerving because, we're all raised with these structural ways of living, right? From school to then college or university or just job, and everything is structured. Our time is totally structured. So to have complete freedom with your time, was that a hard adjustment?
I think that part was okay because I think I never enjoyed having a routine. So that part was okay. Maybe another thing that it is not about fear, but is about finding a balance, maybe in the 6th, 7th, 8th months of the journey, because I stayed more and more in people houses, families I didn't know at all, and if you stay 1, 2 days, 3 days, or 5 days in a row, it can also be very consuming because you are there. You try to be there. They want to know you. You want to know you want to know them. So it's also during the day you did a lot of physical sport, and then you are in their homes, and it requires a lot of you mentally also.
Yeah.
So you have to find the balance between staying with families and having your own time, your own space. Some days staying without a family, just wild camp or stay in another place just to reset a little bit, and have more energy for the next day.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Energy conservation is real. Physical, mental, spiritual, all whatever your belief system is, but that energy that you're referring to is definitely real. This is very useful, and I would love to kind of pivot here and talk a little bit about your experience in learning to cycle with purpose. Tell us about that.
So at the beginning, it wasn't like that actually. So one of the things I wanted in the long term was also to be able to do this in a sustainable manner. I mean, I quit my job. Now I'm using my savings, but if I want to do this in the long term, I have to do something, right? So I'm creating content, I'm making videos, I'm writing, and I'm learning week by week how to do it, how to improve it. And at this point, I know that I enjoy more writing than making videos, for example. But the purpose, the purpose, it started a bit later. I think it started when the earthquake happened, because at that time
Well,
I
tell us
was
about the earthquake. Go back. Tell us about the earthquake.
okay.
Let's go into that. I think this is significant, so I would love to hear that.
Yeah. So there was an earthquake in Turkey, the 6th of February. And at that time, I was supposed to be in Spain, but I was in China because my grandmother passed away. So I went to China. My mother was there. And we just saw it in the news, and I couldn't believe it. I remember the first time my mom saw that news, she told me, "Were you here, or did you cycle in this part?" And I was saying, "What are you talking about?" And I just ignored it, like, this is impossible. And it was in the following day that I saw the news, and I really knew that I was just cycling in that part of Turkey. So many of the families I stay with suffered in some way. There is a family that lost their relatives because one of the cities I cycled by was entirely gone. And other families were living in tents, like these kind of things. And it happened to several of the families I stayed with. And if this happened 1 month ago, maybe it could have happened to me, because I left Turkey the 5th of January. And yeah, so you never know. It made me think that everything is temporary and fragile, and you never know. And for 2 months, or more. I didn't even know if I still had the bike. This was the less important thing, but I just didn't know. I didn't know if I would be able to continue the trip, or how good is to continue the trip, knowing that a lot of people in this part of Turkey had suffered. So a lot of things happened in my mind, and I wanted to help a little bit. So I started this campaign to raise funds for the people affected by the earthquake. And I just kept sharing stories of the families I stay with, how it was before and how they are living now. So that was the two things I thought I could do, and I'm doing it still.
It is devastating to hear that that type of damage happens in any part of the world, and having that personal connection to so many families when you were there, I'm sure hit you hard.
Yeah.
So are you still fundraising now?
Yeah, I'm still fundraising. While I'm cycling in Turkey, I will still fundraising. I don't know which part is more difficult, is fundraising or the journey of cycling.
Right.
I think fundraising is more difficult,
Right.
actually.
Fundraising is definitely can be a challenge. So, well, tell our listeners if they wanted to support the rebuild efforts in Turkey through your fundraising efforts, how would they find you?
Yeah, you can find the link in my Instagram account, Journey from the Road, or in my webpage, like journeyfromtheroad.com. Yeah, I will keep fundraising for 1 month or 1 month and a half more while I stay in Turkey.
We'll make sure to put your link in the show notes, and we'll also, if this podcast is airing after that time frame, we'll identify some additional resources for anybody that would like to continue to support the efforts in Turkey.
Okay.
We'll drop that link in there as well, and support our brothers and sisters in another part of the world.
Exactly.
So you're in Turkey now, and you're taking a couple days rest, and thank you for doing so. So we had time to chat. And what's next? What do you anticipate the rest? And I know you're not planning, but what are the what are your visions so far for where you desire to go?
Yeah, so in these 3 months that I've been in Spain and China, so as I said, a lot of things happened, and I fixed a destination which I haven't done publicly, but I want to reach China, Eastern China. So yeah, because I think I will need like a closure, like closing a phase. Maybe I will continue cycling in other part of the world, but once I reach that part of China, I will say, okay, now it's time to maybe do another project or take a longer break or whatever, starting another project or so. So right now I'm in southern Turkey, in Diyarbakir. I will be heading north. I still have some big mountains to cross and a few nice cities to visit. And my next country will be Georgia. And from there, I will go to the stands, to Central Asia. So my route ideally will be Georgia, Azerbaijan, and then Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and China. Yeah.
How much time do you have? Have you allowed yourself to complete that?
I don't want to put myself like a specific date. So I'm contemplating like maybe end of 2024 or 2025. So I'm not going on a straight line like many bike tourers do.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. Yes. You're still wandering at the pace that feels good to you.
Yeah. Exactly.
With many journeys along the way, and hopefully many warm showers hosts along the way as well. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if in this part of the world there are many warm showers, but I will take a look.
Well, I will tell you, Sarah, that it is on our part of our strategic priority area to develop additional areas of where hosts are not as not as available in certain parts of the world. So we have a global development plan that we're working on. And so you never know. I mean, by the time you get to each step along the way, just make sure you keep checking. And as we continue to work our efforts behind the scenes to increase hosting capacity in parts of the world where we have less hosts, because we know that there are, and there's lots of different ideas that we have. And so keep in touch and let us know how it goes. And of course, keep checking in and see who appears on the map, because you never know.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Listen, Sara, is there anything that you would want to say to, especially, and I want to just talk to the female cyclists. Is there anything that you would say to them in terms of your advice or feedback on handling any of the challenges that you've handled, and maybe some ideas on how to get started?
Yeah, I would like to say that I think one of the hardest steps was to take the first step. It was the hardest, and the following months after that, I was like doubting about myself, but right now it's been a year, and as I said several times to other people, right now I'm 31 years old, and in the first 9 months of the journey, I've learned much more about myself and on people and on cultures, traveling on a bicycle than the previous 3 decades. So I've learned a lot, and I don't know how else I could have learned that much if it wasn't with the bicycle, and without having like a specific plan. I have to reach this point. I have to reach this city. Like slowly. Don't be too rushed. So take that first step. It will be worth it. It doesn't matter if it's 1 month or 2 months or 3 weeks. You don't have to quit like everything, but make that first trip that allows you to take a taste of this kind of journey, and ask for help.
And ask for help.
People are willing to help.
I am profoundly touched by your sentence that in the last 9 months, you learned more about yourself and other cultures than you had in 3 decades. That is profound.
Mm-hmm. And I also wanted to say something else. I forgot. There will be challenges, of course, like physically and mental challenges. So when I was in my 8.5 months of the journey, I had like a mental crisis. It never happened before. And it was because of everything, a lot of life happens in the day-to-day, and it's a lot to manage and to digest. And then it's a lot physically also. And the balance that I told you about. Sometimes it's hard to find the balance between staying with people, staying with yourself, finding that space within other people, places, for example. So take care of yourself physically and mentally. Yeah, that is very important. And right now, it feels like I'm in another journey, really. I don't know what's happening, but it's like I've learned a lot in these 9 months, and I'm way more calmer now. It's like, I don't know, it's like normal.
Yeah, words that come to my mind after hearing you speak about this is inspiring and expansive, and the sheer amount of willingness you have to share on all of these lessons that you've learned, it has a profound impact on all of us. I'm super grateful that you were willing to come on the show, and also to share the ending piece of this was so good. The tips, the advice, the balance, and those are things that are sometimes hard to talk about, right? Outside of if people have not done a journey like this before, it's kind of hard to comprehend how that will be, which is why I feel like the way that you're sharing this is also helpful for hosts, right? If you think about it from a host perspective, and because a lot of hosts want there's the cyclists to come in and talk and be with them and share stories, and sometimes a cyclist just needs a chance to sleep and be by themselves. And so knowing that you have had the experience and are learning about balance and suggesting that to others is useful for everyone. All of this has been very useful.
And don't think that being a female, a woman traveling alone is a disadvantage, because I think it has way more advantages than disadvantages, because people is more willing to trust because maybe you are a woman, you are more vulnerable, and they are more willing to invite you at their home, and maybe you see things, or you are able to do things that a man couldn't do. First, because he won't be invited, maybe because the family has kids and they rather not invite him. But it has way more advantages. You have to be alert sometimes. I mean, on the road, because maybe you can have some people that don't have good intentions, but then your instinct will keep learning with you. So you will be able to detect that.
Right. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Sara. We will put all the links to your social media and your website in the show notes so we can follow along with you on your journey. And we wish you so much success and ongoing learning for the rest of however long you're traveling, and make sure that you keep us posted on how it goes. Thank you again. And for those of you listening, feel free to go find Sara and follow her along her journey. And as always, we appreciate you sharing the show. Sharing is caring. So if you like this and you know someone who would enjoy listening to it, feel free to share. Thank you for listening, and we will be back. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed the show as much as we enjoyed making it. Wherever you are listening, please leave us a rating and a review, as it helps us reach more cyclists and hosts around the world. Visit us at Warmshowers.org to become a part of our community, or on Instagram at Warmshowers_org. If you would like to be a guest on the show or submit a question, please make sure to email us at podcast@warmshowers.org.